Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got two games, Nate. We doubled them up. After one game on Monday, we've got two NBA Cup edition games here, quarterfinal style. We're going to be looking at both of them. We've got the Mavs and the Thunder and the Magic and the Bucks. So we've got best bets for those games in this episode. Also have play a props from these two games in a separate episode and bringing both of those to you each and every weekday moving forward. So make sure to subscribe to that page. We also threw some futures bets at you in the last episode since we only had one game to go through. We're able to get a few of those future looks at you. So hopefully you check that one out and can get some of those bets in now while we still got that value. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first best bet here for these Cup games.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all like the Bucks here, given the Magic injury situation with Franz and Paolo out. But I'm going to take the under in the first half for the Orlando Magic specifically. I mean, I don't hate unders in general for this game. It's up to 215, which to me is a little bit of value, 2 points up since we started this research. But I don't hate the Bucks at -6.5 either. But I actually like the way you're playing it too. But let me just focus on this one and why I think it's a good play. I mean, Magic are the fourth lowest scoring team in the first half in the NBA this year. Actually, they're dead last in second quarter points per game specifically because their bench has zero offense. And yeah, these are season-long pace stats, and they included Franz or Paolo being in there. Now they've lost both those guys. They are dead last in pace in general since losing Paolo Banchero. And just where do they go now? And on the road, they have an offensive rating that's 11 points worse. So you look at the last game, yes, they put up some nice offensive numbers against Phoenix. That's another story, like in terms of what the Suns' issues are defensively. They got 31 in the fourth quarter, sure. But the previous game, even with Franz in there, right, they shot 28% from three, only 41 at the half at Philly, and they get to 94 points. The Bucks have turned it around defensively for sure. In their last 10, they are 7th in defensive rating in the first half and 20th in pace. So not the kind of run and gun Bucks we saw under Bud. This is year and a half under Doc Rivers now. They want to kind of grind it out and definitely get back, like not going for offensive rebounds, just getting back, limiting fast break opportunities, which is going to be huge against a Magic team that I just don't see how they generate offense in the half court. Like it's all going to be choppy and gross for them, given their personnel at this point. They're going to depend on free throws. Bucks have been limiting that. They're going to depend on paint points. The Bucks play a drop defense with Brook Lopez certainly going to be playing the best ball he can here as the Bucks probably get this win here, probably advance. And another one I'll look at here is just Giannis, the top point scorer for the game. It's up to -150. That just seems like free money. I mean, given the situation, given Jalen Suggs on Damian Lillard, his teammate very unlikely to outscore him for Giannis, and the Magic just do not have a dude whatsoever at this point to outscore Giannis.
They don't have a dude, yeah. I mean, look, somewhere along the lines, I think the Jalen Suggs narrative got pushed a little too far. I know Jalen Suggs is going to be taking a lot of shots, but I mean, he's not an offense. He's not an offensive juggernaut. This is their best offensive playmaker now. We saw entirely too much Cole Anthony in that Phoenix Suns game, and I don't think Cole Anthony is going to have a place in this one. Whereas Phoenix was able to go really small, and that let Orlando play guys like Cole Anthony more minutes than you might normally see because of the lack of offense that they have. You put him on the court, he's getting absolutely roasted. You keep him off the floor. Jalen Suggs is your only playmaker up top that you trust to shoot off the pull-up. Anthony Black is as good of a future as I think he has, as bright as it is. I don't think that he's going to be coming out and pulling threes, especially off the pull-up, and that's kind of how you have to beat Milwaukee. So, I'm with you on all of that stuff. I'm going to take the money line for this Bucks squad and pair it with Giannis to get 30, because I do like Giannis to get 30, and that gets you plus 120 on DraftKings. Starting with Giannis, like this defense is really good on the perimeter and down low, but it's also really good down low when it has 6'10" Franz Wagner and 6'10" Paolo Banchero, two versatile dudes that can guard basically 1 through 4, if not 5, for both those guys. Probably Paolo 1 through 5. So yeah, that's going to be where their weakness is now, is down low. Goga, I don't think he's going to be guarding Giannis. I think it's going to be Wendell Carter Jr. But man, if you go into the games that Giannis played against this team last year and look at the matchups and see how just how much he abuses the primary defender that's guarding him for the Magic. It's really mean. It's like basically 2 points per minute that he's on offense. Half a point per minute that he's on offense that he's scoring when he's out on the floor. So that's that's what I would expect him to be the case here. It's the same whether it's Wendell Carter Jr., whether it's Goga, and they are not putting Goga on Giannis. Like that was very clear after 2 games. They had him on Giannis as the primary defender in 2 different games for about a minute, and in that minute in each game, Giannis put up 8 points in a minute against with Goga. So that was probably like 3 possessions of him going up against Goga and scoring every single time, getting to the free throw line on one of them. So there's just no way you put Goga on him. But Wendell Carter Jr. is going to get roasted as well. So 37, 35, 32, and 31. Those are his last 4 outputs versus this Magic squad. And for as far as the money line goes, like, I mean, yeah, you basically touched on everything. There's just no offense now for this squad, and Milwaukee's clicking at the right time. Like, it's just 2 teams in completely opposite trajectories. One just got its third-ish best player back. The other just lost its team for at least a month and a half. It's offense, like 60% of the usage when they're on the floor, basically. So that's not going to be easy to fill that. So yeah, that's a big part of it. The Bucks have gotten better on defense. I'm not willing to call them good, but they are at least limiting offensive rebounds now. So they're limiting the second chance points. They're getting back on defense a lot better over the course of the last 10 games. They've gone from 24th in points per possession that they're allowing in transition to 15th. So we'll take those victories where we can get them. But yeah, I think this is just going to be an easy one. And then Giannis should be able to get 30 before this thing gets out of hand, because Orlando will keep it a little bit slow and choppy, which is fine for Giannis because he's still going to be able to get to the rim in the half court.
Yeah, I like it. I think you could even get more conservative and get Giannis at 25 plus with an alt line here and get it like, NFL style under a field goal or 3.5, the key number being 4 or 5 in the NBA. Yeah. Maybe the Magic hang around and cover that. And just looking at FanDuel, you could do 25 plus and Bucks to lead at halftime and full time. And that would be about plus 120 as well. But Giannis, 30 plus, no problem. I mean, the last 2 against the Magic, he has cruised to like a point per minute. Actually, the last 5. And that was with those guys out there on the wing who are pretty good defensively on top of what they bring on offense. Yep. Let's go to the West Coast game, though, here, Western Conference game. And I'm going to take under 230.5. Maybe you can get 231 right now with the Mavs at the Thunder. And both these teams have been hot on both sides. But I think when they get together, man, it is just like heavyweight fight. I mean, just consider the playoffs last year. Even point differential, both teams averaged 106 in that series. So we are not even sniffing this total. This is, a playoff situation, even a one and done situation. And I think the guys do really care about this one, especially the kind of double revenge narrative. OKC looking to prove something. Dallas hot at the right time. And I think this game's going to be won on the defensive side. And it's going to be played at a pretty slow pace, slower than we've seen these teams play recently. So 93.5 pace in the playoffs last time out. And both of them, they have nice offensive numbers recently, but they've been playing at like a 101 to 104 pace, against teams that are happy to like get up and down and, tanking teams and just weak Western Conference opponents. But you looked at the first 4 when the Thunder got Isaiah Hartenstein. 3 of those went under. The last 3 of them have gone over, but they're still third in defensive rating. They are now second in paint points allowed with Hartenstein. They're first on the year because they had Chet before that. But they also have Alex Caruso back. They have a 97 defensive rating with Alex Caruso on the court. Absolutely fantastic. Both these teams were top 2 limiting paint points in the playoffs last year. We saw Dallas able to pack that paint, kind of get the ball out of SGA's hands at times, and J-Dub struggled as picking up the slack there. Thunder playing a lot of defensive lineups. If Caruso's out there, like they're not going to have a very explosive offense aside from those 2 guys. They're going to try to grind it out, win on defense, which they've been doing pretty consistently. And the Mavs, their defense is also absolutely elite, and their rebounding rate is elite, and that's going to be key on both sides here, I think, because you might get some second chance or third chance possessions for the Mavs, really drawing this game out if Lively's able to do what he did in the playoffs last year. And you look at their defense, since they got those guys in the trade, they've allowed 5 fewer points per game, 3 fewer free throw attempts on the season. They are 62% since last season to the under when they have a little extra rest. And that's what both teams coming here rested and looking to win a huge game with stakes.
Yeah, I mean this got bet up. I think a lot of people are just chasing pace, pace chasers, because they both these teams have been playing pretty fast over the course of the season in general, obviously, but really over the course of the last 10. Now OKC slowed it down a bit as well. I do think there's some correlation to getting Hartenstein back. You get Hartenstein back, you don't have 5 dudes on the floor who are all 6'7" or shorter. You're going to be able to play a little bit faster. That in those situations, now you've got a true center to help you out with that, so it doesn't have to be quite as much run and gun. And I think that's the main reason that people went over at the opening line here of like 227.5 on the total is really just pace. I don't have much more for that, because as I'm about to talk about my bet here, I'm taking Dallas plus 4.5. And I look like the smart thing to do with the way that we played this cup in general with the futures. We both like Dallas at plus 900, whether you think Dallas is going to win or not. The second best team in the West should not be plus 900 to basically beat the Thunder and then have to win 2 more games against inferior teams. So I'm very happy with my 9-1, and it would be smart to just take like the Thunder, like maybe SGA 25 plus with the money line, and just try to hedge a smidge of the bet that I put on the future. I ain't going to do that because this is the closest game. This is the tightest matchup we have in the cup until maybe the Bucks and the Knicks. I don't know, but probably for the rest of this series, this is going to be like the tightest game that I would say for the cup. I should say. So I'm going to take Dallas on the plus 4.5. I'm going to take the points when I've got this close of a matchup. We know what Dallas has done against this team since the playoffs last season. So I'll just briefly talk about it. But I mean, the big thing here is going to be rebounds and free throws for me, as big as anything. And PJ Washington is questionable. I do think it seems like he's going to play, and I think they're going to be at full strength, but I obviously don't know for sure, other than Maxi Kleba being out. But Maxi didn't really do anything in the last game either. The last game was predicated on the Dallas Mavericks dominating the paint and dominating the free throw line, just like they did in the playoffs. They had 34 rebounds last game, in part because, they had 53 rebounds last game. They out rebounded them 53-29. 34 of those rebounds went to 3 dudes, PJ, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford, all combined for 34 boards. I should say half of those went to PJ Washington, 17 boards. He loves playing OKC for a lot of reasons, including that he's a spot-up shooter who's often a little bit further down towards the corner, and that's how you beat this OKC defense. So if he plays, I also love him for over 1.5 threes at plus 105. I'm considering just hitting that right now because it's a void if he doesn't play, and he's going to take 4 to 5, and he's going to be open in those threes because of how OKC plays defense. But I digress, because the rebounds and the free throws is what I want to focus on for a minute. 53% rebound percentage for the Mavs in their series against OKC as well, and they continue to be really good on the offensive glass and limiting the offensive glass. And that's where OKC, as we know, struggles. They're a little bit better. They're up to about 49%. They were at a 47% rebound rate before Hartenstein. I'm calling him Hart. I'm not talking about Josh Hart. He's finally not on the same team as Josh Hart. I'm not saying Hartenstein anymore. It's like 8 syllables. We're going with I Hart. So for Hart, we know that he's up there rebound percentage to 49 from 47 with Chet or without Chet. Doesn't really matter. So there's going to be it's going to be a little bit better, but it's not good enough at this point. And Dallas has the number 1 free throw rate in the last 10 and is still in the top 10 on the season as a whole. They are attacking. They're getting a lot of good shots going to the rim. Guys like Quentin Grimes have actually helped. He's had about 4 drives per game, even with Luka and Kyrie, because if teams want to close out on him when he's in the corner, he is dangerous going to the rim. So I do like the sort of addition of him. With Najee Marshall questionable again, does seem like he's getting some of those, give me some of those like versatile guy out in transition, quick athlete kind of minutes. So I love that for him in this matchup where Najee would be great to have. I'm not going to lie, but Quentin Grimes is doing a great job as well. And OKC 28th in opponent free throw attempt rate on the season. That's actually been 29th in the last 10. So a little bit worse. Dallas outscored them at the free throw line 36-25. That's the attempts last game as well. We know OKC makes the free throws when they get there. They just, other than Shai, have not really been getting to the free throw line, at least not nearly as often as this Dallas squad, who's also limiting free throw attempts pretty well also. So those are the 2 places I'm looking. Very simple. Take the dog because it's just points for a team that I think is almost as good as this OKC team, and in the matchup itself, just as good.
Yeah, definitely fits with the under. You'd rather have the dog. And yeah, like we were saying with the futures yesterday, you can get plus 1,200 potentially on Luka to be NBA Cup MVP, which is huge money compared to this money line here for the Mavs. But like we're saying, that we'd like their chances if they get past OKC here. This should be the toughest test. I think they're ready for that kind of test right now, given how they've been playing lately, ramping up at the perfect time. But The only concern, is that illness that's kept Najee out for a while, and it looks like PJ has it too now. So if they're thin on the wing, like I would definitely go smaller on the Mavs bets. But hopefully PJ is able to grind through it because they're going to need him to defend SGA potentially at times and to be that kind of corner playmaker you talked about.
Yeah, that would be huge for sure. And just having one more versatile wing like that would be always helpful against the Thunder, who have a cavalcade of them. But that's all the time that we have for you in best bets for these 2 cup games on Tuesday night. Definitely subscribe to that page. You can also check out the Play of Props, turn those notifications on. Don't miss any of the stuff we're bringing you all season. And until we see you next, happy betting.